Well, my name is Donald Hagan, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Forestry and Environmental Conservation at Clemson University. And today I'm up in the mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains here in Pisgah National Forest with my dendrology students. Just out here looking at some of the plant communities and learning some species that we just don't have in Clemson. It's a great opportunity. We're not that far from the mountains there at Clemson. We can get out here and see these kind of things just in a short little drive. Right where I'm standing now, this is what we call a cove forest, and what a cove is a landform that's more or less enclosed on three sides. And these coves in the southern Appalachians are really some of the most biodiverse places in North America, really in the world outside of the tropics. Just thinking about trees, right? 140 species of trees here in the southern Blue Ridge Mountains, many of them in places just like this. Flowering plants as a whole, something like 2,400, 2,500 different species of flowering plants. 400 species of mosses, salamanders everywhere you look. We just caught a snake. Just tremendous amount of life as you walk around these woods. So again, we're up here with these students, and in this particular area we're learning species like yellow birch and black birch, which we're about 3,000 feet of elevation. You start picking those up about 2,500 feet, so you don't have those in Clemson. Fraser magnolia, we've got eastern hemlocks that are succumbing to the hemlock woolly adelgid, various different species of maples like your striped maple that again is we only find in these higher elevations in the southern Appalachians. We also have a lot of our common Piedmont species that you see right here around, there around Clemson. Yellow poplar, northern red oak, and species like that. And that's really one of the things that makes this area so special. One of the reasons why it is so species rich and biodiverse is because we're on this gradient, this sharp latitudinal gradient, where you get the ranges of those Piedmont species sort of overlapping with the ranges of a lot of your higher elevation and higher latitude species. So tremendous species richness, tremendous diversity, great place to take a class, and I'm really excited here at Clemson that we have an opportunity to do that. So I'm standing here about 6,000 feet above sea level here on the Great Balsam Range. This is Black Balsam Knob right here right off the Blue Ridge Parkway in western North Carolina. Great place to look around because you can see a lot of fascinating plant communities that you just don't see at lower elevations. If you look down there, you see red spruce, these extensive stands of red spruce there in the 5,000 to 5,500 foot range. Right? Red spruce is one of those species, it's endemic to the northern United States and Canada, but we just find it here because our elevation is so high. Our climate is really more akin to what you would see in Vermont, New Hampshire, places like that. So we have red spruce just on some of these higher peaks up here. Just beyond the red spruce, you might even see some scattered Fraser Fir. You might be familiar with Fraser Fir because it's one of your more common commercial Christmas trees. It is a very high elevation species, kind of the same story. It's a high latitude species that we just find on these highest peaks. Above 6,200 feet here in the southern Appalachians, if you see a conifer, it's probably the Fraser Fir. You have a lot of these mountains like this. They're called balds. We have grassy balds, and we have what's called heath balds. Heath balds are those balds that are more dominated by ericaceous vegetation like blueberries and huckleberries and things like that. This is a heath bald with some grassy patches in it. Each bald kind of has its own story. This particular bald used to be not a bald. It was actually historically covered up with spruce and fir, but those spruces and firs were logged in the early part of the 20th century, and then there's some wildfires that swept through and burned over a lot of that logging debris, dried out a lot of that soil, and the site just hasn't recovered. It's kind of remained as a bald ever since then. Nowadays, in many cases, we still try to maintain these balds in this state because they add to sort of that landscape level diversity, right? Tremendous diversity of herbaceous vegetation that you see on these balds that you just don't see in these deep, dark, closed canopy woods, right? So it's a really beautiful feature of the landscape. Another beautiful feature of the landscape that you'll see this time of year, here we are, September 23rd, is the fall foliage starting to develop. Right off in the distance at this higher elevation, you can really start seeing some yellows and some oranges and even some reds and purples starting to pop. From the evidence that we've seen so far, it really does look like 2015 is going to be one of the best fall color seasons in recent memory. We're probably about a week away from the peak here at these high elevations, and then you're going to see that peak sort of moving on down the hill, about 1,000 feet a week, hitting Clemson sometime around maybe the first week of November. So great time to be up in the mountains. I encourage you to get out here and explore. The weather's beautiful and the scenery is just amazing.